In 1987, Huawei's founder was running a small telecom equipment reseller in Shenzhen. No factories, no engineers, no chips. Just Run Zhengfei and a gnawing conviction that one day America would try to cut them off. So he built a backup, quietly, patiently, over 30 years. A secret chip division called High Silicon, stockpiling engineers and intellectual property like someone burying supplies before a war they couldn't name a date for. Not because he knew when the cut would come, because he knew it would. On September 15, 2020, it came. One rule change, one deadline. The most advanced foundry on Earth, gone. The most ambitious chip program in China went dark overnight. What happened next took 3 years, and when it arrived, no press conference, no fanfare, just a phone quietly listed for sale. The entire semiconductor world stopped talking. 12 chips, 3 eras. It starts in 2014 with a chip that was honestly kinda bad, but proved something that changed everything. Kirin 910. Here's what nobody tells you about the Kirin 910. Huawei knew it wasn't good. Quad-core, 28 nanometer, mid-range performance. A GPU nobody was excited about. By every number that mattered, the Kirin 910 wasn't showing up to the premium fight. But Huawei wasn't trying to win 2014. They were trying to answer one question. Can we build a chip at all? Buried inside was a clue most people missed. The Kirin 910 integrated an LTE modem, the Belong 710, directly onto the die. That sounds like a spec detail. It wasn't. Huawei had spent decades building the world's cellular infrastructure. That knowledge, compressed into consumer silicon for the first time, was the tell. This company was going to be different. The 910 wasn't a product, it was a proof of concept. Everything that follows traces back to this quiet, unimpressive chip. One generation later, they shocked everyone. Kirin 920, same year, completely different ambition. 6 months after the 910, Huawei shipped the 920, and this time, the modem wasn't just integrated, it was first in the world. The Kirin 920 carried the first LTE Category 6 modem ever built into a commercial mobile chip. Carrier aggregation. 300 megabits per second theoretical, double what any Android rival offered. Qualcomm didn't have this yet. Think about that. The company that built the world's cellular towers had just delivered the world's most advanced mobile modem inside a consumer chip. That's not a coincidence. That's decades of infrastructure knowledge paying off in a completely different arena. The CPU was still running hot on 28 nanometer, but Huawei wasn't trying to beat Qualcomm yet. They were studying how to. The node change came next, and with it, the first time a Kirin walked into a benchmark fight and actually won. Kirin 950, 16 nanometer FinFET, and the heat problem was gone. FinFET transistors wrap around the current pathway on 3 sides instead of 1, and that single structural change slashed the throttling that had plagued every previous Kirin under load. The Kirin 950 was the first commercial chip anywhere to use ARM's Cortex-A72, also the first to use the Mali T880, 2 architecture firsts in one chip, and an i5 sensor hub managing background tasks at almost no power. Then the benchmarks came out. Geekbench 3 multi-core, 6096. The Snapdragon 810, Qualcomm's most catastrophic chip in years, overheating in hands, throttling within minutes, scored 4300. Kirin 950 beat it by 40%, while the Mate 8 ran cool. That's not beating the competition, that's beating them while they're visibly struggling. The GPU was still conservative. Kirin 960 was built specifically to fix that. It did. Kirin 960. First place in architecture, last place in fabrication. That was the entire story. First commercial Cortex-A73, first Mali G71, 8 GPU cores, double the 950. The modem kept leading with category 12 and 13 speeds, and 4x4 MIMO. Every generation, that modem stayed ahead even as the rest of the chip caught up. But Qualcomm had the Snapdragon 835 on 10 nanometer. Samsung had the Exynos 8895 on 10 nanometer. The Kirin 960 still on 16 nanometer. A smaller node isn't just bragging rights. It means lower power at the same performance, better battery life, less heat, more headroom to push clocks. Kirin 960 had better cores, but burned more power to run them. Battery life trailed its 10 nanometer rivals, even when performance looked competitive on paper. The next chip didn't just change Kirin, it accidentally started a war every phone company is still fighting. Kirin 970. Every AI feature in every phone you've owned in the last 7 years traces back to this chip. The Kirin 970 arrived in the Mate 10 with something nobody had ever put in a mobile processor, a dedicated neural processing unit. Not a CPU doing AI math on the side, a purpose-built silicon block for machine learning, co-developed with Cambricon Technologies. Real-time scene recognition, on-device translation, computational photography without touching a cloud server. That same September, Apple built their neural engine into the A11. Qualcomm accelerated Hexagon. MediaTek followed. Every mobile AI benchmark you see today exists because Huawei moved first and forced everyone else to respond. Then they got caught cheating. AnandTech discovered firmware logic specifically designed to recognize benchmark applications. When 3D Mark was detected, thermal limits were overridden, the chip drawing unsafe power to post-inflated scores. When they renamed the benchmark app, performance dropped significantly. UL formally removed multiple Huawei devices from their official leaderboards. Huawei called it AI-driven resource allocation. A firmware update made the mode manually toggleable. The chip that started the mobile AI era got caught gaming the very tests designed to measure it. The credibility hit was real. The node they chased next was real too. Kirin 980. Huawei beat Qualcomm to 7 nanometer. Not by a little. First, TSMC, 7 nanometer, 6.9 billion transistors. The first commercial Android SoC on this process. Before Qualcomm, before Samsung, before anyone. ARM's Cortex-A76 cores, first commercial use. Dual NPUs, LTE Category 21, at 1.4 gigabits per second. The Mate 20 Pro's battery life became the story. The Node was finally doing what it promised. Then, the benchmarks arrived. And Huawei won the Node race, then lost the performance war anyway. Apple's A12 was untouchable in single core. The Kirin 980 couldn't consistently beat even the previous year's A11. The Mali G76 still trailed Adreno 630. Huawei marketed it as an A12 competitor. The data disagreed. Node leadership is real, but Apple had spent years building custom cores from the ground up. Reaching them required more than a process advantage. The next chip came closest, and it was the last Huawei built without a countdown running. Kirin 995G, the world's first fully integrated 5G modem on any chip on Earth. In 2019, every 5G phone used an external modem, a separate chip, its own power draw, its own heat. The Kirin 995G put the Belong 5000 directly onto the same die as the CPU, GPU, and NPU. The power penalty of external 5G connectivity eliminated. The DaVinci NPU replaced Cambricon entirely. Fully proprietary, no external licensing. Huawei's AI silicon belonged to Huawei for the first time. The CPU stayed on Cortex-A76 instead of upgrading to A77. Critics noticed, but integrating a 5G modem and jumping to A77 simultaneously would have exceeded the thermal ceiling of a phone chassis. Huawei chose a stable product over a better spec sheet. That's engineering maturity, not a compromise. Everything Huawei had built across a decade pointed toward one chip, one deadline, and a stockpile they'd been quietly building for months. Kirin 9000, the most powerful chip Huawei ever made, freely, and they knew it might be the last one. TSMC 5 nanometer EUV, 15.3 billion transistors, a Cortex-A77 prime core at 3.13 GHz, a 24-core Mali G78, the widest mobile GPU ever shipped, DaVinci 2.0 NPU, and the Belong 5000, fully integrated, first 5 nanometer chip on Earth with an on-die 5G modem. Apple's A14 that year still used an external Qualcomm modem. 36% CPU improvement over the Kirin 990 at only 10% more power. It traded blows with the Snapdragon 888 against Apple's A14, behind, but closer than any Kirin had ever been. Then, September 15th arrived. The foreign-produced direct product rule took effect. Any foundry using U.S. equipment or intellectual property, which is essentially every advanced foundry on Earth, was prohibited from manufacturing for Huawei. They'd seen it coming. HiSilicon stockpiled chips frantically before the deadline. Every Mate 40 Pro shipped after September 15th carried silicon that could never be made again at the world's best foundry. Kirin 9010, same node, retuned. The drama had already happened. The Kirin 9010 kept SMIC's 7nm DUV process and the same 8-core, 12-thread SMT topology. The prime core pulled back slightly for power, mid-cores nudged up for throughput. Geekbench multi-core improved noticeably over the 9000S. Despite the identical node, SMIC was getting better at making this chip, quietly, without headlines. Against benchmarks, it still lost to a mid-range Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 in graphics. A flagship chip, losing on paper to something half its price, but Genshin Impact ran smoothly, Call of Duty ran smoothly, Harmony OS had eliminated Android abstraction layers that burned cycles delivering nothing visible. The gap between what synthetic tests said and what users experienced were two completely different stories about the same chip. Huawei wasn't trying to win benchmarks. They were optimizing for survival. Kirin 9020. This is the one nobody thought was possible. The Kirin 9020 removed ARM entirely. Not just the high-performance cores, the efficiency cluster too. Previously, ARM Cortex-A510, replaced by HiSilicon's own Taishan Little cores. Performance cores stayed Taishan V120. Prime core stepped to the refined Taishan V123. 8 physical cores, 12 threads, and not one ARM CPU license anywhere on the die. GPU upgraded to Maliun 920. Long 6000 modem. LPDDR5X memory. Every major component, custom, domestic, proprietary. Benchmarks tell the usual story, roughly matching a 2022 Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, well behind 2024's Snapdragon 8 Elite. But that's not the story. What isn't in this chip is the story. No ARM Cortex anything, no Western CPU licensing, no permission required from any Western company to design, modify, or ship this processor. Designed by HiSilicon, built by SMIC, running Harmony OS. Huawei no longer needs ARM's permission to make a processor. That's not a spec improvement, that's a declaration of independence. Kirin 9030 ProSmic's most ambitious push yet. A 5nm class process on the same deep ultraviolet multi-patterning just pushed further than anyone thought DUV could go. 9 cores, 14 threads, a Taishan V124 Prime at 2.75 GHz, 4 mid-cores running SMT for the first time on any mobile chip, 4 little cores for efficiency. Maliun 935 GPU, Wi-Fi 7, dual SIM 5G. Fully domestic, architecture, foundry, software stack. The 14 thread count tells you something honest. You don't need 14 threads if your single thread performance is fast enough.